I almost forgot to unmute myself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Hobby Night news stream. How are you all doing this evening, Havman? It's lovely to see you in chat. Everybody else who is lurking, it's lovely to have you all here as well. I thought we would get back to doing some hobby gaming news. We sort of skipped it the last week because, well, there wasn't really that much to talk about, and we had to stream about GW's reveals and everything. So I didn't really feel like we needed to rehash it. We had already, it got really excited at that stream, although there wasn't that much to talk about anyways. They revealed like 2 things. It wasn't that much. So today, instead, we actually have a lot more to talk about. Specifically, I would like to talk about a couple of different things. We're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077, which has a board game version coming out. Which looks another board game version, because yes, there has been more than one at this point. This is the second one, and it looks really, really cool. We also have the Mass Effect board game, which is by Modiphius, which is coming out. We'll be taking a look at that one as well. And then additionally, we're going to take a look at the Duskmourn House of Horrors previews. There's a lot of very interesting looking cards in this particular set. And I'm curious what your guys' opinion might be if you're Magic fans, because with Bloomburrow, and we'll get into more of this later as well, but I just want to say Bloomburrow was really popular. I don't feel like Duskmourn has been hyped or popularized nearly as much, so I'm curious how you guys feel about the cards that we're getting to see. Andy and Coolbra, it's nice to see you both. Hello, hello. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into talking about Cyberpunk 2077. One of the main reasons I want to bring this board game in particular into the spotlight is, one, I ordered this for the Chaos Cultist for our anniversary this year. Woo! So we will be getting it and possibly playing it. You might see me painting some of the models on my channel. And the other reason that I want to talk about it is because once I conclude Space Marine 2 and then get back to Fallout New Vegas over on my hobby gaming channel, once Fallout New Vegas is finished, the next RPG that I want to start streaming is going to be Cyberpunk 2077. I started the game when it originally went live and never got super far into it, and then never went back to it. So I have not played it since any of the updates, since the DLC or anything has come out, and I'm really excited to just basically try it all and get back into the game. So it's one of those ones where I've touched base with it. I have experienced it a little bit, so I will probably be vaguely familiar with the controls and such, but I only got to honestly, I feel like I got barely past the intro portion of the game, if that. I don't even know if I actually would technically say that I got out of the tutorial. Well, I mean, I guess I got past the tower. So I guess that's the main tutorial. So barely past that. But we'll talk about the game now, the board game specifically. And I have a trailer here for us to watch. So without further ado, let's get this full screened and take a look at the Cyberpunk 2077, the board game trailer.
V, listen up. Got a preem gig with your name on it. Need you to swing by Arasaka HQ and borrow a couple things, if you catch my drift. Get your crew, gear up light, clock's ticking. Looking at a few minutes tops. Spot any hostiles? Greet them with lead. Arasaka security packs some serious heat. Stick around too long.
I would definitely agree that the furry community probably helped Bloomburrow a little
See some
bit.
preem tech? Help yourself. Need a bigger gun? Pry it out of your enemy's
I'm not sure the horror
dead
community
hands.
is going to necessarily
If the
help
heat rises,
Duskmourn,
take
though.
a beat. Catch your breath. Take your time. Don't forget to upgrade your weapons.
This game
your
looks
tech,
sick.
and
I'm
most
really excited
importantly,
for I love
yourself.
these kinds of games, campaign-style, narrative-based
and in
games
case it wasn't
with
obvious,
miniatures where you're doing
don't
missions
fuck
and
this
trying to
up.
explore things, and it just looks.
Remember, V,
This
you're
feels
not
like it's fitting
flying
back
solo on this
exactly,
one.
with a little bit more
Be your
complexity
usual
than say
one-man army.
some of the Simon games that I've played that do similar things.
Gotta play
So it
your
should be really,
strengths.
really fun. And the
Keep a
minis
tight
look
crew.
great.
Maximize your impact.
Jackie especially. I love Jackie's model.
You get the hell out of there. Stat. You made it out. Still breathing. But the real win? Street creds through the roof. Only one person this city will be talking about. You.
Hello, Red Panda.
When you're ready for your
Lovely
next
to
job,
see you today.
drop
How are
me a
you
line.
doing?
Got plenty to choose from. You know the drill. Just remember to chrome up at your local Ripper Dock. Or stop by a weapons dealer. treat yourself.
Like, I love
Or
that
do
there's
some Zen
going to
yoga.
be
Whatever helps
upgradable
you prep for your
pieces. You
next
can
mission,
like
'cause
enhance
it's
yourself
only
just like in
uphill from
the
here.
CRPG.
Sure,
But it's
the
all
city
board
gives
game
you
levels, and
choices,
which means it's going to be a lot of little pieces
opportunities,
moving around. It's going to feel very
rarely
chunky.
What? You thought you already made it to the big leagues? Keep dreaming.
And
Stick
hopefully we
with
can get
me,
revenge.
And you might just become
I
a legend.
do love that there's
Or
stickers
at
involved.
least
I always love
die
campaign games
trying.
with stickers. There's just something about it that like makes me
Now,
happy. I think it brings me back to my childhood
like
where I
an
used to
old
collect
Choom once
those
said,
okay, when
"We've got
Pokemon
a
first
city
came out, there was those booklets
to
of like,
burn."
you've gotten this Pokemon in your game, or you've got this card. And you're gonna put a sticker to fill in that you've got that Pokemon.
Hello,
I
it's Lucas
love the
Wojcik from
crap out of
Goldborn.
those
I
kinds
want
of
to
things,
invite
and it
you
just
to take
I
part
don't know,
in a
it
mission,
gives me that vibe a little
crowdfunding
bit.
campaign for our new project, Cyberpunk
You're working on some
2077,
tiny
the board
tanks.
game, in this
Nice.
exciting cooperative
Ooh, your Legion of
adaptation of
Imperialis?
Cyberpunk
Sick. I can't wait to see
2077,
photos of that later.
co-created with CD Projekt Red. You and your friends will visit the infamous Night City, taking on the role of one of 4 edge runners, Judy, Panam, Jackie, or V.
Yeah, we're actually going to take a look at the Mass
Experience an
Effect game, and I
intriguing
completely
story
agree. They
told
have both
across
nailed
13 exciting
the
missions,
accuracy
and
of the
your team will
characters
perform
in the
epic
miniature form.
combos and
Really,
spectacular
really well done.
actions to earn ticket to the major leagues. And after each mission, you'll take a break in the Night City, so you can spend your eddies on equipment, or if you're an adventure seeker, you can see what's behind the corner of the Neo Street. Who
I
knows
love this
what
kind of
comes
thing
out
where
of
you've got
your
these little
exploration.
interactable things
There's
that are
only
like
one way to
one-offs
find
that
it.
happen.
So why the campaign
Super
is
fun.
worth your time? First of all, you can participate in shaping the game you love. Secondly, you'll get plenty of free content unlocked during the campaign, including exclusives you'll never find in stores, such as Johnny Silverhand Relic or V with Mantis Blades. Considering
I am
the
getting the
above,
V with
you'll
Mantis
get your
Blades.
game cheaper
We did
and also
decide to do
faster
that.
because we planned the schedule to guarantee backers get their copies before the game goes to retail. So do you want to
I
become
love
the
that.
most-
Okay, hold on. I have to just pause real quick. To anybody that does GameFound or Kickstarters or any other sort of crowdfunding anything, if you are somebody who is publishing a game through these programs, okay, as a consumer of these products, I love that I, as the consumer, get the product before the retail stores. As somebody who used to work in the retail business, that sucks. Like it's a very like double-edged sword. I feel like this thing that they like to do, because again, as somebody who has now put in on a pledge and paid for the game, or when the GameFound campaign finishes or whatever, I'll have paid for it. So like I'll have committed money to it, and therefore I will feel at that point like I should absolutely get the game before a retail location does. So I get it from that mentality, but gosh darn, does it suck if you are a board game store trying to keep up with the fact that a lot of really popular board games do release first and foremost through crowdfunding sites, and you want to be able to get in on that early action. And a lot of these businesses started doing retail options to basically streamline their retailers getting larger copies of the game, but not necessarily maybe getting all of the add-ons or those kinds of things like stretch goals or whatever, because they can't sell those things. It's hard to sell that kind of product once you actually have it in the store. And I can just speak from experience with this. But at the same time, like one of my biggest complaints and one of the reasons I actually encourage the store that I worked at to maybe slow down on putting in on Kickstarters and just waiting for those games to show up through normal distribution, because they all inevitably did, and or just contacted them directly and like afterwards, is because you never get the games when everybody else is getting their games because they pledged, which means that you cannot popularize and utilize the hype of people going, oh man, people are getting that cool Cyberpunk game that I remember seeing. Man, I wish it was in retailers already so that I could go get it right now while I'm freshly thinking about it, and like the store could actually make a profit on it, rather than ending up sitting on a lot of these games because they get them well past when the rest of the GameFound people get it, and then you end up just sitting on it because no one wants it anymore because the hype's completely dead. And it's such a double-edged sword. But as somebody who backed it, I'm glad to hear that. That does make me happy as somebody who's backed this. All right, let's get back to the
Legendary
video.
edge runner in the Night City. We hope you do.
You've only
because
ever
we have
backed
a city
Nemesis
to
and
burn,
its sequels?
we can't do it
Nice.
without. So visit the GameFound page and join the adventure.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a huge amount of fun painting these Cyberpunk minis. I love the color vibe of Cyberpunk, as well as just the Cyberpunk element of it. Like, that look is really cool. All right, so that is our Cyberpunk board game, and I just wanted to... Oop. Stop that. I didn't want you to play again. Okay. And I just wanted to show you guys, so here is the GameFound page for the game. It does show you what you can get. So there is a couple of different versions of it. You can get the standard edition, which just gets you the core game, and then you can get the deluxe version, which is what I bought in at, which gets you the game, an expansion, and then you get all of the add-ons that get, or not the add-ons, sorry, add-ons is the wrong word. You get all of the stretch goals. You get all of the stretch goals, which there are quite a few, and there are only 3 left to be unlocked, and I really hope we get to whatever this cat is, because it's called New Game Mode Cat. I want to be a cat in Night City doing who knows what. Hopefully cat things. I want to knock things off of desks. I hope I just get to go and knock tech off of like computer desks or something like that and break them as a cat. But there's lots of really cool stretch goals, and I just thought this one looked really neat. I think they did a really good job. And actually, I want to double check, because this is not done by who I originally thought it was as a company. It's actually done by a completely, it's Go On Board, and then CD Projekt Red, obviously, because, you know, they own the rights to Cyberpunk. But Go On Board is who is actually making this game, and I think they've nailed the aesthetic of the characters. Like, these are both your V options. So this is Fem V and this is Male V. We've got a lot of different, like, just cool looking characters. I do love the V with the mini Mantis blade. He does look really cool. The Mantis blades I look really neat. I don't know if I'll end up using Mantis blades in my playthrough when I end up playing that on my gaming channel, but I think it could be rad. But there's lots of really just cool fun things. Also, this just cracked me up. I'm not getting this. This is ridiculous. But look how silly this is. It looks so derp. It kind of looks like a meeple, though, which I do appreciate. I assume that was intentional, it looking like a meeple, because it's a board game, even though this is absolutely not using meeples. But I do think it's really funny that they made a meeple version of V. Okay, let's go ahead and move away from Cyberpunk 77 and talk about another sci-fi series, but this time Mass Effect. This one is from Modiphius Entertainment, which I have started a working relationship with. I'm really excited about that with Fallout. And I really am excited actually about this one. I've played, did I play 1?
Fallout 1?
No, Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
Okay, I've played through Mass Effect 1. I've gotten through a portion of Mass Effect 2, but I have not finished it. And then I've never played 3. This game, from my understanding, based on a Polygon article we'll look at in a little bit, is set in 3, but is not specifically tied to any like specific missions from 3, but it's set in that time period within the game. So let's go ahead and watch the trailer and see what we're looking at.
Admiral Hackett has a mission for us. Cerberus has outfitted a research cruiser to avoid our raids. It suffered a massive systems failure while hiding in the atmosphere over Hagalaz. The cruiser's crashed on the planet. Normandy is the closest ship. There's a deadly storm coming and we don't have much time. Let's get down there and find out what Cerberus is hiding. Several refugee ships have also gone off the grid. We think Cerberus might have them. Our orders are, keep the research data out of Cerberus's hands, retrieve it if possible, and rescue any captives we find along the way.
The minis look really cool in this. They, again, like I said, they kind of nailed the character designs.
Garrus, Tally, Rex, you're with me. We don't know what we're gonna find down there. Let's get it done.
And much like the bees, you get Fem Shep or Male Shep.
Mass Effect, the board game. Priority Hagalaz. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite board game on the Citadel.
Okay, I have to say that that I'm Commander Shepard and this is my favorite board game on the Citadel is by far the absolute best ad out there. So I want to talk a little bit about the Mass Effect board game because I think it's really interesting that this and Cyberpunk seem to be doing something that I feel like we're seeing happen a little bit more when it comes to board games that are based off of video games. For a while, early on, we were seeing board games trying to retell the story that we played in the video games, which in certain instances can work, but I think majority of the time kind of fell flat because what made the video game interesting was the fact that it was a video game. Whereas in this, with the Mass Effect board game, it's actually a narrative campaign game, but it's a really limited narrative campaign game, and it's not retelling the story of Mass Effect 3. As I mentioned earlier, it's designed to be like, these missions are meant to slot into what you would have been doing in 3, but it's not like specifically tied to a specific plot line from the game. You think that people gave 3 way too much flack for the ending? I can kind of agree with that, but I also feel like the company built up the ending a little bit like it was going to be a lot more. And as somebody who was in art school where game development was a major, let me tell you that those folks were really, really, really disappointed because they had really high expectations of, I think, what was going to happen. And when it came down to a button press, people were just very, very, very upset. And kind of felt like the innovation had sort of died a little bit, I feel. And I can understand that, especially if you're really liking the innovation that is happening through 1, 2, and into 3, and then it just boils down to, oh, your choices have mattered all through this whole game, and now it's just this singular button choice, and it kind of, I don't know, it down...
They did update the game to make that better.
Yes, that's also true. They did update the game to make that better. So, I think 3 now is not looked on as harshly. I think there was they sort of fumbled it coming out initially, but I don't feel like people overall feel like the game was a disaster like maybe it originally felt when it was first live. But going back to the board game, so something that I thought was interesting about this is normally when you hear the term narrative campaign game, because this is a co-op narrative campaign game for 1 to 4 players, you hear that a lot in adventure board games and such. And when they have campaigns, oftentimes what that's going to mean for you and your game group is that, oh, this game is going to end up taking us 30 hours to get through, and it's going to be several months worth of sessions, etc., etc., etc. And actually, Modiphius has sort of treated this a little bit differently, and I think that's really an interesting idea, and I'm very curious to see how it works. So what they're doing in this is each campaign is actually seemingly consisting of 3 to 5 missions each, and then it seems like it concludes and you go into a new campaign. And you might not even get all 5 missions because what they're doing is they're breaking the missions down into 3 core missions, and then you're going to also have 2 optional loyalty missions, which I assume is going to be dependent on whom of the cast you bring with you. Which, can we just say real fast that these models look great. Rex looks great, Tali looks great, the Shepherds both look pretty cool. Honestly, they're my least favorite of all of the sculpts within this set. I think they're the most honestly, they're kind of just the most stiff looking in regards to position. And then we've got, I always forget her name. I wrote it down though. Hold on, I wrote it down. Liaria, I believe is her name. And then of course, Garrus, because who doesn't love Garrus? But I actually think all of the aliens look really cool. My favorites were always Tali, Rex, and Garrus because, again, I don't know if you don't like Garrus. I don't know who you are. Get out of my chat. Don't actually. You can absolutely stay here. But I thought it was just an interesting take on the campaign style narrative game that I haven't felt like I've seen a lot from video game based board games. And I think it's really cool that they're attempting this, and I hope that we see other games do this because it really... there's a certain element of narrative that cannot be replicated in board games in the same way that you can get this emotional connection in a video game, because it's just a different medium, right? So I'd rather a board game focus on what they can do a lot stronger, which is still have a lot of narrative flavor, really build the world, bring the world in and bring that to life, but focus on like mechanics and tactics, which is what Mass Effect seems like it's going to do. And so this is up for pre-order right now from Modiphius Entertainment if you are interested in it. I would highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're a big fan of the games. It seems like it's really sort of nailing the narrative a bit and fitting within the vibe of the game, at least when it comes to you running missions with your squad and going and doing things. Not less so the like overarching plot that is the Mass Effect franchise. Okay. So the next thing that I specifically want to take a look at is we're going to go we're going to stumble all over our words. And then we're going to go ahead and move into talking about Magic the Gathering. As you guys probably know, I've gotten a little bit into Magic recently. I bought a fair number of Bloomburrow decks, a fair number of Bloomburrow collector's packs, and I even went to my very first pre-release when it came to Bloomburrow. That was like my first ever pre-release. Really loved the set, actually. I thought it was really fun. I thought the cards honestly synergized well together, and it was just a very engaging set that I felt like the commander decks especially were really, honestly, very fun to play. I really want to get somebody, like I need to find somebody to play a 4-player game with, because I think those decks really need 4 players. I mean, I think most commander decks, especially the precons, need 4 players because they're kind of designed for that. But there's some really fun things that you can do in Bloomburrow. But now we're moving into the next set for Magic the Gathering. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of this stream, it's interesting to me when it comes to Magic because Bloomburrow was super popular. It got a lot of people either back into the franchise or brand new into it for the first time. And a lot of that, as some of you in chat said, was because it's got the small critters. They're all anthropomorphic, and I think the furry community did help with that. I think it also just appealed to a much more feminine base, which probably got a lot more like girlfriends playing Magic with their like boyfriends or husbands or something like that, which is just really cool to see. Like I do like seeing products bring, say, couples together and allow them to play games together, because I do think that's something that couples should do with each other. But we are now moving from a cute, cuddly, like very, like, I think G generalized appeal into horror, and very specifically like slasher 80s horror, which is not my personal preference for horror. So we're going to go ahead and watch the trailer to see the Duskmourn reveals. And then I have a bunch of tabs open where we can look at a variety of different card art that's coming out, as well as what the cards actually do. And I'd love your guys' opinion for those of you that are into Magic. Is this one that's appealing to you? Because I feel like a lot of the YouTubers and influencers who are into Magic, like those who are just, this is their thing, they seem hesitant. Like they're still talking about it, obviously, because it's part of their job and they need to make content and such. But I feel like Bloomburrow, everybody was like, oh man, I really can't wait for this. And I feel like people are a little less so with this one. Like there's still some enthusiasm for sure, but it's such a different vibe. Let's go ahead and watch the trailer now, and I'll stop hashing it out, and we'll make a judgment call together at the end of all this. You're right, Michael. Narrative board games do tend to have an app, and neither the Cyberpunk or the Mass Effect ones seem to indicate that. But again, I think that's because they're actually taking the narrative games in a little bit of a different way, because they're trying to make it more this like focused, you're going on the missions, rather than it being, hey, we're going to tell you the story of this game, which I think is just an interesting take on it. And I'm curious to see how, honestly, both fans of the original franchise, like the video game, take to it, both Cyberpunk and Mass Effect, as well as fans of these style of board games. Because I feel like sometimes people buy into these games even if they don't care about the IP it's tied to. They just really love adventure games and they just want more of adventure games to play. And so I'm curious if it's going to hit the right buttons for everybody. You're really hyped for Duskmourn, Excellent. Well, speaking of hype for Duskmourn, Robert, let's go ahead and watch this trailer. Because I don't actually think I've watched this one yet. Or if I have, no, I think I watched it a little bit earlier today maybe, but... Do I have sound? Oh, nope, I actually muted myself. Let's go back.
Original and professional salad shooter.
Oh yes, the salad shooter.
This is a great spot.
It's kind of dark.
Better to
You're
see
camping.
the stars.
But you gotta hurry. The sail.
Interesting that this is actually also having still like anthropomorphic
What are you drinking,
creatures.
sweetie?
Thank you for
My new
subscribing,
friend.
Digital Ninja 279. Dude, if my kid was drawing those cool like
Okay,
moths, I'd
I
be
found
one
connection.
slightly concerned, but also
Hey,
I would
Mrs.
also
Nashi?
put them up on
Where
my
am
wall.
I? That's a good question. I am lost. Super lost. I'm looking for Tamio's scroll. With all her memories and stories. I've tracked it here. Nice, right? I'm gonna get it back. That's all I got left of you. Oh, okay. This way it looks less horrifying.
And then the s'more fell right through the graham cracker.
Did you hear that?
I'll go check it out.
Coming through!
I do like the Cyberpunk mouse.
Who needs this many mirrors? I must be getting close. What? Not going back that way.
I'm gonna
Okay.
sneeze, so I apologize for the
Let's do
sudden
this.
loud noise.
I'm not sure I'm gonna get out of here.
Oh, that was actually
So if
way
this is
quieter than
working,
I thought it was gonna be.
If anyone's
Huzzah.
seeing this, please send help. Anyone.
Michael, you're absolutely right. I do think Magic has been riding a little bit of a wave of FOMO recently. It is nice to see them deviate a little bit away from the IP-driven stuff. Like, I do like these sets where they're more in their own universes and such. But I will say that, okay, having watched the trailer, I actually don't think I had watched this because I don't remember the mouse. I don't understand the mouse. And maybe this is just because I don't follow Magic the Gathering's, like, actual in-game narrative much, but, like, I don't know who the mouse is. Is the mouse supposed to be from Bloomborough? And now is, like, traveling into a new world because they learned that, like, their plane is not alone because some of the planeswalkers showed up in the Bloomborough plane? Is that what's happening? Like, it feels really disconnected from all the humans. Like, I get... From my understanding, Duskmourn, House of Horrors, is supposed to be a very 80s, like, slasher horror vibe. Hence all of the TVs, hence why it feels very Stranger Things, hence why you have, like, and a lot of the cards we'll take a look at actually here. Let's start taking a look at the cards. So we have a lot of cards and they all feel very, like, they're all very retro in their art style, not art style, in their color palettes. You get a lot of synthwave vibes from them, or at least I do. And we'll take a look at these in a little bit, like, greater detail. So like this card, for example, the highlighter yellow and the bright neon pink purple color tone, like that fuchsia color, with the really deep black backgrounds, like, it gives me such synthwave vibes. And we end up having a lot of cards that have, like, doors with, like, spooky things popping out, which I will admit, this Valgothvoth Terror Eater, very cool. Love that he has flying and lifelink. I think that's a very, very cool thing. I like that he's an Elder Demon. I do like demon cards. What does he do? Ward, sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. If a card you didn't control would be put into your opponent's graveyard from everywhere, exile it instead. During the turn, you may play cards exiled with Valgavoth. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying the mana cost. Okay, so you can like use your life to summon things in, which is interesting. But like, oh, they have two art variations. We have our honestly more of the kind of horror that I like, which leans a little bit more like gothic horror with a red, white, and black design, and then we have our 80s horror with the vibrant color tones, which I kind of enjoy. I do actually like both. This card, from my understanding, is actually supposed to be very good. This endurance, or all of the enduring cards are supposed to be pretty good, or at least they look interesting. And just like reading what this card does seem pretty cool. There's also a snake one we'll look at in a bit. But for me, like I'm not sure. Like this is cool. I think this card here, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, aesthetically, so far, is the card I've seen that I'm like, ah, yes, I want this one. Because this is very eldritch horror to me a little bit, but leaning in a little bit more of a high fantasy sort of way, which I dig a lot. And I don't know, this little friend that he's got back here just delights me. They also have this really cool hollow variant, which would just be super sick to pull. Absolutely love the way that this looks. I'm sure it looks even cooler IRL when you're able to like move it and make it look shimmery and neat. Story related, he's from the Japanese inspired plane called Kamigawa. Ah, okay. Thank you, Orc Dragon. I wasn't sure where our little mouse friend was from, but that's really good information to know. So is the woman whose memories he's searching for also from that plane, or is she from a separate plane? Because like I didn't quite get that. So please let me know if that, I think this is one of the Japanese cards, because you can see right here, Aogachao, it looks like, Aogacho, I believe is maybe how it's pronounced, is the artist for it. So yeah, definitely one of the Japanese cards, I believe. And I think this one also is, so is this Enduring, because you've got, Kawasumi is the artist apparently on this one. But then you start moving into this kind of stuff, which starts to get a little bit more into, I feel like, the Stranger Things horror vibe that I was talking about a little bit earlier, which I don't know, like, I never really watched Stranger Things. I watched, like, I may have watched the entire first season, and then I kind of just didn't keep watching. I know Chaos Cultist didn't like it super much. I thought it was fine, but I didn't really, like, vibe with it super strongly, so I wasn't that interested in it. But this does give me those kinds of vibes. Although every time I see this little guy, it makes me think of like a chupacabra a little bit with the horns. He just looks very, very scary. But then this is really where we start getting into that like 80s slasher vibe. Because there's a lot like the chainsaw, which, like, don't get me wrong, this card seems very cool for an artifact equipment. When the chainsaw enters, it deals 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. So a really nice way to instantly just get rid of a smaller guy who's been maybe pesky to you. Whenever one or more creature dies, you get to put a counter on the chainsaw, and you get to equip the equipped creature gets plus X plus 0, where X is the number of rev counters on the chainsaw. So if you've done this a lot, if you've like killed a lot of creatures, or just a lot of creatures are dying, this is gonna be really good in Commander. I feel like, imagine playing a 4-player Commander game. You have this card out. Creatures are just dying left and right. This guy keeps getting bumped up, and then you equip this to one of your creatures, and he's suddenly like a plus 10 plus 0. It's wild or something like that. It could be really, really fun. And the art I think is interesting because, again, I love the color palette of this set. Like, if there's one thing that I absolutely love about this set, it is the color palette. It reminds me of what I do on my miniatures. I really like to go vibrant and bold. It really gives me synthwave vibes, which I really love listening to. So, like, I dig that, but I'm not a slasher horror fan. Like, I'll watch them, I appreciate them, I respect them. But I'm not, like, a gore is not what I'm going into horror for. When I go to horror, I want it to be either supernatural creatures, really just supernatural horror in general. Like, I like ghosts, I like vampires, I like witches and like psychicness and like that kind of stuff in my horror, rather than it just being pure like body terror and gore. Tamio is also from Kamigawa. That makes sense with the name like Tamio, of course. Excellent, excellent. See, Michael, I think I kind of agree with you. Like, I almost feel like if you want this kind of horror, I almost feel like you should just go play like Arkham Horror or something like that. But the cards are still very cool. I'm just not vibing with them 100%. Like, this is another one that gives you that very 80s vibe. And, I mean, it's kind of fun. Although it's a little hard to tell what's going on. Like, he's obviously, his leg has fallen off. But I think he's jumping towards us. I'm really not 100% sure. I mean, he's come back wrong. That is definitely sure. Or that is definitely true. You really like season 1 and 2 of Stranger Things, but season 3 and 4 were... Or season 3 was weak and 4 was fantastic. You know, I think that's kind of what I've heard about the series. Personally, yeah, I just never really, like... I thought the concept was really cool. I really liked the graphic design that they were going for. Like, I loved all of the, like, the logo and the art aesthetic that they were taking for a lot of their, like, product design, etc. Very, very top-notch. Cool, bro. Thank you. Thank you, cool, bro. I completely appreciate that. I am absolutely horrendous with pronouncing names. So I appreciate you making it simpler for me to read. Okay, let's keep looking at some of these cards. Now, this is where so those were some of the, like, enchantments, some of the creatures that you can bring out. These are some of the lands, and I actually think, well, I'm a little sad that the lands all just seem to be a repeat of the same, like, architecture with different seasons or such, or color palettes sort of thrown on them. I do really like the very graphic novel look of these particular lands. In particular, I really like the island. I think the blue version of this looks super cool. They do change it up a little bit. Like, this one now has the fountain. This one before had, like... I'm not really sure what all this swirly stuff is. Maybe it's, like, bug hives or something like that, or like vines or some sort of plant life. But I do really like the fountain with everybody walking up there. This one, however, the swamp is my favorite. Swamp almost always is my favorite. I just love the stairwell. I think it's really cool. The purple color scheme works beautifully. And I like that it actually looks like the portal or whatever that is in the center here is not only ripping the stairwell apart, but slowly consuming it as well. It just looks wild. Also, the butterflies, or the moths, are really cool. And then we also have our mountain, of course, which, again, looks really cool. You got, like, a sacrifice happening here. Very rad. Very, very intrigued to see what is actually going on with this. Should be very interesting. And then we finally have our forest, which, again, I think this, like, the plains is my least favorite. I think this is my second least favorite. And then we go into... probably, you know what, actually the fountain, I do like the sacrifice now that I've looked at it more. The mountain and then the swamp, of course, my fave. This was one of my favorites of the very 80s retro style, like, supernatural horror. They actually brought in some monsters, which I really like. I love the aesthetic design, and I love this extreme close-up on the glasses, but then you get to see the, like, edge of this eye. Like, the full art cards, in my opinion, are always pretty top tier when it comes to Magic the Gathering. And this goes actually for most TCGs, let's be honest. Like, Pokemon has some amazing full art cards. One Piece does. The Dragon Ball Super card game does. Like, Vanguard. I don't know if Vanguard actually does full art. I assume they do. I feel like most of the TCGs at this point, that's kind of like their special thing is they just do all the full arts. Oh, you think the portal was a Valkoth himself? Okay, that makes sense. I could see that. You know, it does kind of look a little bit like him. Let's see, do we have the... Let's see, does that... So here he is. Here he is in, like, his normal... his card art, and then... It's definitely a portal to him. Or, like, representing him. Because it's his aesthetic, for sure. I don't know, but maybe he is behind it. Because that kind of looks like him, I guess. But it's not quite the same, is it? You know, you could be very correct there, Robert. I'm not 100% sure. but I think you might be onto it. That might just be him in the background in various forms. Very interesting. He has several card arts. That makes sense. But I like this thing because it reminds me of a Wendigo. Let's see, what does this creature actually do? It's a demon flying. When Doomsday Executioner enters, if it was cast, each player exiles all but the bottom 6 cards of their library face down. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. Oh. Well, just get rid of your libraries. Except for 6 cards. We're ending this game fast. This one also, I think, is actually really cool. This is one of my other favorites of the 80s horror vibe that they did. I love all the TVs in the background, the giant, like, spider creature coming out of it. I don't know, maybe this is also... No, I think it's just sort of supposed to be a spider creature, but then, like, the silhouetted character, but you can kind of see the fear in their face. I think the artist who did this one, Inkognet, very lovely job. I love your colors, love your composition. Really cool looking card. Kaito, this one looks really cool. I love the raccoon, I believe, creature thing here, as it's super cute. This is one of our planeswalkers, obviously. As far as you know, he's kind of becoming a house or something like that. Interesting. So he's meant to be like, okay, that explains, knowing that, Robert, that explains a little bit more, where was it? These kinds of cards, I feel like, with the focus on, like, the TVs a little bit. Like, if he's turning into a haunted house a la, what was that horror movie?
Oh, I love that old TV show.
What?
That old TV show.
Which one?
House.
Oh, the doctor one? That's not what I'm talking about. It's called, like, Rose or something. Oh, hold on. I have to look it up. I have to look this up because it's like Rose horror movie. Is it Rose House? Is that literally what it's called? Rose Red. There was a movie called Rose Red. And I'm getting, like, that kind of vibe from this. He's new to the blue. Kaito is? That's cool. Yeah, see, so I don't follow Magic's lore super tightly at all. But it's really cool that he's, like, new to the world. Because you said he's from Kamigawa, right? From the Kamigawa set, which I know is relatively recently. That came out in, what, 2023? If I'm not mistaken. No, we're not going to be doing any painting tonight. We're just covering the hobby news. Yeah, it really gives me Rose Red vibes a little bit. If he's transforming, like, into a... Oh, can I rotate this? I don't know if I can. This is really... So, unfortunately, we're just going to have to look at this wrong ways up. But I like this card art a lot. Specifically because it's got this very pastel vibe, but it still has a very horror elements to it. And I am a sucker for, like, girly pastel colors mixed with horror elements. It's just so cool, and there's so much happening in this. Although it's really funny that it's all just, like, 1 point perspective. Just all of this has just been 1 point perspective. Hello, John Williams. Welcome to the stream. This one I also thought looked really cool, and this starts to lean a little bit more into the type of horror I like. Because this feels a bit more supernatural with, like, unearthly growths. We've got the teeth coming out of the doorway here with this what looks like an absolutely charming, delightful bat creature of some variety. Look how giant his ears look. Like, can you guys here? I'm gonna zoom in. Look at him. Look at how cute he looks. It reminds me of the bats for my vampire team right now from Blood Bowl. They all have gigantic ears and these just cute little faces, and it reminds me of that. So I really, like, this card art I just absolutely love. I just think it's really, really, really charming. This one is one of the other enduring cards that I was talking about, which supposedly are going to be pretty solid, which, I mean, most of the mythics I feel like tend to be pretty strong. And I love the look of this. Also, can we appreciate that the name of the artist is Tapioca? That's great. So in this one, whenever you gain a life, the target opponent loses that much life. Whenever Enduring Tenacity dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control as an enchantment. And that's what all the Enduring cards do, is like once they stop being creatures, they stay on your board as enchantments, which I think is a really neat mechanic. Like, this is the thing that, of everything that I've heard discussed about Duskmourn so far, this is the thing that makes me go, oh, okay, well, I'm at least intrigued on getting those cards because that seems like it could be really fun. I really like the card art because for me, I'm a major sucker. If I like the card art, even if the card itself is not that great, I will probably still use it because I just like looking at the art. But if it's a really good card and it has really cool art, how very nice. I love it. Something that you want to know, Saint, is Norn isn't dead already, or how is Norn isn't dead already, and two, how he accidentally went into the place that wouldn't be the worst place for him. I don't know who Norn is, unfortunately. Can you give me a little bit more context for that? I'm assuming Norn's one of the Planeswalkers. Did we look at his card? Did I miss that? Doomsday Executioner, Screaming Nemesis, because this was Kaito. The Dollmaker's Shop. Ah, Norn. Okay, so you're this guy, ICC. So you don't know how he hasn't how he's lived this long. Well, because he's a swift survivalist, man. Hello, Sean. Welcome to the stream. It's lovely to have you here. I hope you're doing well today. Yeah, I mean, the artwork is cool. It's just not my favorite type of horror. Like I said, the Norn card is actually one of my favorites in regards to the horror element, because it's the type of horror I like. This to me feels like it could have fit into the... I'm trying to remember the name, and I've completely... What was it called? What was the vampire set that we got? Do you remember? What was the vampire? I'm gonna look it up. Oh, my caps lock is on. Vampire set magic. The Gathering. No, it wasn't Innistrad. Crimson Vow. This feels like it could fit into the Crimson Vow, and I really, really like Crimson Vow. Who says Norn survived? Well, I mean, you're right. He might not survive. In fact, he might end up in your graveyard, or worse, exiled. His first card was basically the second something happened to it. It turned into exile, and it came back at the end of the turn. Interesting. Thank you, Orc Dragon. Yeah, no, it's absolutely Crimson Vow. Thank you for subscribing, Al Kirkham. Welcome to the channel. Hope you enjoy your time here. But yeah, I at least he looks kind of cool. He looks very like rogue / thief vibe in D&D to me. This Norn character. But going back to the Enduring Tenacity, I just think this card is really interesting, and I don't know, for those of you that have played Magic for a long period of time, is this like a new thing, or have they done this before where you can have cards that start as creatures and then stick around as enchantments? I guess in Bloomburrow they have that card where you cast it first as a instant, and then it can be cast from exile as a creature. But is that... I guess that's kind of the closest equivalent. Are there other things that have done similar things? And Norn's original flavor text is, I have a bad feeling about this. I mean, based on the way that they're describing him and you guys are talking about him, it does seem like that's an appropriate catchphrase for him. This is the first time we are getting it in... this is the first time we are getting glimmers. Okay. So this is a relatively new mechanic. That's really cool. I like the idea of it. How are you guys feeling about it? Like, is this something that, as a, say, standard player, modern player, commander player, legacy player, are you excited about this idea? Because to me, it seems like it could be quite powerful. Because it means that, like, even if this Snake Man dies, you'll still be able to gain life, and the opponent must lose life. I mean, that seems just pretty good, because it's much, much, much harder to remove enchantments, right? Like, I know that there are ways to do it. There are spells that you can cast to do it, but it's way easier to remove a creature than it is an enchantment. They had a creature in one of the D&D sets that would make all your creatures come back as enchantments. Interesting. Okay, so they have played a little bit with the... You have had creature enchantments that became creatures? Okay. So kind of the reverse. So they've never done it this style before. They're doing like they've done it in the like sort of reverse style. Okay. I can understand that. Interesting. Well, I really like the idea of it personally. This is also... Oh my god, I just realized how many of these cards are all 1 point perspective. 1 point perspective. 1 point perspective. I wouldn't even call this 1 point perspective. There's not even a perspective in there. It's just a portrait of somebody. 1 point perspective. 1 point perspective. 1 point perspective. Not perspectived because it's I mean, it's still just 1 point. Again, 1 point. 1 point. 1 point. Wow. Literally every card. I mean, don't get me wrong, they still look cool, but like, wow, I never realized. I need to go look at the other cards. Do they all do that? They probably do. It's probably just easier. It's good. The best of the glimmers is the white rare. Is that, let's see. That's the bunny, right? I know there was a preview of that one. Where is it? Oh no, sorry, the lamb. The enduring innocence. So life leak, whenever one or more of your creatures you control with power 2 or less enters, draw a card. Okay. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay. And then yeah, when it becomes an enchantment. Okay, I mean that is pretty good. Whenever one or more other creatures you control with power 2 or less enters. Let's enter, draw a card. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know. I kind of like the snake one more. I mean, card draw is never a bad thing, though, right? So I can see why, if card draw is the most valuable, mechanic that it's offering, then I can definitely see that. I don't know. Life gain, though, I feel like could be... I mean, I guess this is reliant on you pulling cards that have lifelink or somehow give you back life, whereas our lamb friend here is a lot more reliable to trigger. So I guess probably that's also why, right? Wait, what's not legendary? Oops. Sorry. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. Ignore what you just saw. Truth be told, the snake is made for commander and for bond blood combo. What's bond blood? I don't think I'm familiar with that card. Let's look it up. Bond blood. MTG card. The sheep is legendary. It's mythic. Right there. Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. Okay, yeah, I found Sanguine Bond. Let's see if I can find a larger picture of it. I guess I should just go to TCG Player, huh? TCGplayer.com. Interesting. All right, so you said it's exquisite. Exquisite blood. All right, so let's take a look at this card. No, I wanted you to go. Computer. Don't do this to me. Okay, no, go in. Go. Okay, so we've got exquisite blood here. Let's see what this does. I want to... Oh no, it's behind me. Okay, well, I'm not going to zoom in as much because I was hoping... Can I enlarge you? Can I... I want it to not be behind me, but it's when I zoom in,
then drag your window, zoom in.
Okay.
And drag it in OBS.
Oh yeah, doy.
Just drag it.
No, that's me.
No, OBS, please. The background window.
There we go. Okay. Now I can actually zoom in and show you. Okay. What does this do? Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much. Okay, that makes sense. And then the other one that you said that it could combo with, because I could absolutely see that, is Sanguined Bond. Okay, so Sanguined... No, that's the one we just looked at. Is that what I just looked at? What were we... Angela. Okay, Exquisite Blood is what we just looked at. So Sanguine Bond is what we need to look like. So Sanguine Bond. So what does this do? Also, this is a gorgeous version of this card. Okay, so whenever you gain life, target opponent loses... Oh, so they both do the same thing. Interesting. And then that would combo then with this one. Oh, they all do the same thing. Oh. So are you saying that you could... So if you...
You'd have to get them all out.
If you had all three of these out, though, you could do that, like, ×3 then?
Yep.
Holy shit. What?
I mean, removal exists.
Well, yeah, of course, but they're all enchantments. So it would be harder to remove.
It is. Artifacts are easier to remove, you're right.
Because this is... Yeah, this is an enchantment. Was the other one also an enchantment? I'm pretty... Was it... Or was it an artifact?
Anyone else having flashbacks of Dragon Age 1 with the character that goes, Enchantment!
Yes! Oh my god! Enchantment! They loop each other. No, they do the opposite. They loop each other whenever an opponent loses... Oh, I see, because this one's whenever...
So they one triggers, then the other one triggers, then the other one triggers, then the other one triggers, then
Oh my god. That's even worse than what I thought it was doing. Damn! Like, not in a... Like it's worse for the opponent, really cool for the person doing the loop. Oh my god. Okay, I understand. That's wild. Okay, that would be really fun though. That could be a really just really annoying, Yes, of course I would think so. It feels very vampire. That's hilarious, actually. I kind of love it. There we go. Now we're back in screen. Okay. Is that us? Okay, and then the last card that we were looking at, just sorry, getting us back. It's two cards and you instantly die. That seems brutal. Dude, I was watching what's the magic guys, the
Professor?
Not the professor. It's
Hobby?
No. The foreign guys, the Germans, I believe they are.
Oh, the card market guys.
Yeah, the card market guys. They were doing a video where they were playing Legacy. And they were playing...
What turn 2 wins?
It was like, they had a deck that...
They had many decks.
They had many decks that all basically had, like, if they got good draws, they had turn 2 wins. And I, like, That's
why you don't play Constructed.
That's why I don't play Constructed. Like, that's why I don't... That's what kept me away from Magic for so long. is that when I was first introduced to Magic, like, back when... I don't even know what set was out. I wasn't paying that much attention because I was so annoyed by my, like, first experience with Magic that I just didn't care. Like, I literally made an active decision to not care.
Imagine what a better employee you would have been.
I know. It irritated me so much because the Magic players that I was dealing with were just so up their own ass. Like, no offense to Magic players.
You guys.
No, well, not to say that I haven't, like, met other gamers of other types of games who have done the same thing or whatever.
I've never met a rude 40k player.
Oh my god, I have. But, like, my point is that it was just a really, like, terrible experience, and it drove me away from Magic for a really, really long time, beyond just enjoying the card art for the game. Like, I never wanted to get into the game because the players that I had met early on when I was first introduced to it were kind of toxic. And so, like, it always really discouraged me from wanting to get into it because the community as a whole, it gave me a bad viewpoint of the community as a whole. But I also wasn't actively, like, seeking out that community, like, online or anything to see if that was how everybody was or if that was just, like, my local scene, which I really do feel like it was probably my local scene. But it's just one of those things of, like, when I first was getting into the game, I had a couple of games where I was just destroyed by, like, turn 2 or 3. And if you're going in, and this is just maybe something that people need to hear, maybe it's something that people don't need to hear because it's talked about a lot more modernly. But if you're trying to introduce somebody to a game, going into that game and wrecking them...
I'm sorry.
And then, like, wrecking them over and over again and then not explaining to them either, like, in a polite, non-toxic manner why that might be happening, maybe giving them time to ask questions or something or whatever, and instead just being like, my game is the best, the game that you were playing sucks and you're just not good at this one, sorry, is not the attitude to have. Also, maybe, like, slow down your gameplay so that the person who's new that you're trying to introduce this to can, like, figure out what they're doing. Because that was the thing for me, is, like, when this instance happened where I was playing these games and I would have these, like, turn 2 or, like, turn 3 wins that I was, like, losing on. Like, it wasn't me winning, it was my opponent winning against me. And it was really demoralizing because I'm, like, sitting there and I'm reading my cards being like, how do I even get these to work together? Like, I've only seen these cards. This is my first time seeing some of these cards ever. How are they supposed to synergize? And it may have, like, and it was going kind of over my head a little bit. So to be just destroyed before I even felt like I understood what was in my own hand to try to, like, make it work, and then to play another game and not see any of those cards again, potentially, so that you don't even get to reinforce, like, a strategy or try to attempt to learn something. It's what kept me away from TCGs for a really, really long time. It's one of the reasons why I'm so glad that Magic in particular, with all these really cool cards that they're making, do end up like, they have the Commander style, because I love having only one version of a card, like a named card. So, like, I wouldn't be able to have both of these in my Commander deck. I'd only be able to have one of them because they're both named the same. And I think that's kind of, like, I don't know. I like that because it adds a little bit more of... You have to kind of figure out how to make the cards work a bit more as they come out, because you're not guaranteed this one play that you're going to be able to instantly win the game with. Like, you can kind of still force that into, I think, Commander a little bit, with, like, card draw options and you're, like, searching your deck for certain types of cards. Right. Not in a 4-player, maybe in a 2-player, but, like, it's just very interesting. You mostly play board games, Zholok? I understand you've never played Magic. It's Magic is interesting. It's definitely one that I would say give it a shot. Definitely go into it with experimentation of the various different types of ways to play Magic, because I don't think all of them are for everybody. Like, I personally do not necessarily like playing standard when it comes to, like, constructed. I like drafts fine because I feel like that puts everybody kind of on the same playing field of, like, we're all getting whatever, and it's kind of haphazard, and no one's, like, specifically being able to build a deck into some sort of nasty, constantly winning situation. And so it doesn't feel as unfair sometimes when it comes to your various skill level. Like, draft, I feel like feels more balanced to all skill level of Magic rather than it being dominated by the best. Even though it still can be. Because, like, if you know Magic cards really, really well because of how often they repeat them or recycle them, I definitely could see a, like, really good, very well-versed Magic player absolutely dominating a draft scene. But I feel like it still is a little bit more open to newbies having a random good hand and being able to, like, pull it off.
You can't net deck and you can't buy your way to victory.
Exactly. I think the buying your way to victory is really what, like, bums me out about constructed and standard and, like, legacy and those kinds of things. It's just like, well, you buy your way to victory and it just feels a little unfair.
You might like Pauper.
Honestly, Pauper, I didn't know about Pauper until I started watching The Professor. And I really think,
Our local store has a Pauper night.
Oh, do they have a Pauper night?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we'll have to check that out then.
Yeah,
I think
it's weekly.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, I remember looking at their calendar last time we were in.
I'm really sorry. I am terrible with name pronunciation. Like, you can phonetic it out in the chat so that I can know how to pronounce it better. Because I will butcher your name. I am so sorry. I try my hardest, but I am very, very bad about
What's
it.
What's their name?
Z Holaka? He said I pronounced it like he was an ogre or something, and I'm like, I get it, like, but like
Zeloka?
Maybe, I don't know, like, but yeah, phonetic it out if you want me to try to pronounce it a little bit better. Many weekly players of the game, Mini and CCG, have spent a lot of time perfecting their game. I mean, that's very true. I get that, and like, more power to them. It's just, it's not, I feel like, the best way to introduce new players to the game. I feel like Draft or Commander or a couple of these other styles of the, like, formats of the game are a better way to introduce somebody new, because Standard and, like, Constructed, thank you, are just brutal. They can be really brutal because that's what that's okay. I guess what it is to me, those two formats are your try hard. I'm gonna go to a tournament, and that's what I'm gonna play with. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure like tournaments for Magic happen for Commander and Pauper and various other systems as well. But I feel like your hardcore are doing the standard / legacy / like, we're gonna, I'm gonna be able to have 4 of the same card in my hand, and my whole deck is built around this like one strategy, and I just need that strategy to go off and I'll win. Like, that doesn't, to me, that's not as fun. But I also am not a person who enjoys sitting there staring at a bunch of cards and constructing a deck out of them. I think could be very interesting for Commander, because again, I can't do repeats, and that appeals to me a lot more. But the idea of sitting down and going, I want to build a deck that does X. How can I make this deck that does X the most efficiently? Does not strike a fire within my soul to do. Like, it's just me. Haloka. Okay. Got it. Well, I'm going to call you Haloka then. Okay. And is that okay? Does that work for you? Commander is constructed? Okay. Fair enough. True enough. Well, what's the other one then? It's standard and legacy, and then modern. Modern was the one that I was forgetting. Yeah, like modern and standard don't really appeal to me for that reason. Because you can end up having, like, it is 4, right? I'm not misremembering that.
What?
You can have 4 of the same card, like up to 4 of the same card.
Except for basic lands.
Except for basic lands, yeah. Okay. Whereas in Commander, you can only have 1 of the same card except for basic lands. And I don't know. I just like that. But yeah, that is, I mean, I don't know, the more that I've looked at these cards, like, they are very cool. I'm still interested. So I do plan on going to my Duskmourn pre-release.
Yep.
I believe that's in 2 weeks, I think.
About.
Roughly or so. So I do plan on going to that. I'll probably be posting about it on my socials. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely check it out. I might end up picking up at least 1 collector booster box for this set because I'm kind of intrigued on trying to get some of these fancy cards. Like, I would love to pull an Overlord of the Hauntwood. I actually think he looks really neat, and I think this foil version of him is even cooler, and that would be super rad to pull. I would love to get some of these full art mythics of the Enduring cards. That would be also really neat, and I feel like that's probably going to be more doable or likely to happen by buying a collector's booster box because of...
It will.
So...
You sicko.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. I just like the foil. I like my shiny things. It's my magpie brain. It sees shiny and it goes, ooh. It's so nice. That's why this... I'm going to flip through them all. This one. That's why this one really, really appeals to me, is because it's so very shiny. And I can't wait to see it actually in real life, because I bet this foil pattern looks cool. The fact that it's got so much, like, pink and, like, fuchsia in there. Well, I guess there's a little bit of teal, actually. I bet it's gonna look so cool in real life. You personally prefer Swiss or Swiss box? What is that? I don't know what the Swiss is. Like, is that
like when you draft a box?
Oh, that's really cool. It's from the Choctaw Native Americans? That's really cool. I was wondering, because it kind of felt Native American to me, but I wasn't 100% sure. That's really cool. Haloka. Really like it. Oh, no worries. Don't worry. There's always a little bit of lag. That's just gonna happen. Oh, heads up on just for the draft aspect. The Endurings are rare, so they should show up decently often. Oh, okay. Very nice. Well, I hope they do, because I would love to get some.
Yeah, I think it's their showcase.
Got it. Okay. Well, I really hope that we end up seeing them, because that would be really, really cool. I would love to end up seeing some of the Duskmourn cards, like some of these really cool ones. So I'm also very curious what some of the other ones are going to look like, because I personally loved most of the Bloomburrow stuff. And while this is not my favorite style of horror, or even like my favorite setting necessarily, I do think the cards continue to be impressive in regards to their composition, their color usage, etc. Like, they continue to hire really good artists, and I am so glad they are not embracing AI art. Like, thank goodness, because I would much rather see all of these artists that work on, well, that's the same artist, all these artists that work on these cards, I want to see them continue to get paid and to do cool stuff and, like, just make it look awesome. But yeah, I think that is probably going to be it for us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed today's news. If there are other things in the future you'd like to see on the news, various other board games, other card games, scale model news, etc., please do let me know down in the comments below. I'll try to see if I can find some interesting things about those various stuff. It's basically, if it's tabletop related or hobby related, I'm more than happy to talk about it. So let me know what you guys are interested in. Whenever you try building any deck games, I agree, Orc, Dragon. If they move to AI art, my heart would break as well, and I really hope they don't go that direction. It doesn't seem like right now they're wanting to. It does seem like they're very opposed to AI art, just because they've already had, like, Wizards of the Coast has already had controversy with that on, like, the D&D side of their brand, and so I think they're wanting to try to avoid it as much as possible with Magic as well, because their community doesn't seem to enjoy the idea of AI art just taking away all of their artists' jobs, which I appreciate as somebody who went to art school and knows a lot of people who do art for a living. I know I have friends. Well, I'm not really in contact with many of them anymore, but I know people who
classmates.
I had classmates. I had some former classmates who have worked for Wizards of the Coast and published Magic the Gathering cards. Like they have done the art for some of the cards, and that's really cool. They've also done some of the art for some of the D&D books, which is just really, really neat. So I don't want to see those people lose their jobs because AI takes it from them. So I'm glad that Wizards is putting their foot down on that and actually like not embracing AI art, but that's just me personally. Angela, did you buy any of the packs of cards that I owe CC yet for losing the laugh challenge?
No.
I have not, no. He wants Modern Horizon collectors packs. They're really expensive. How many do I owe you? Like 9?
That was 8.
8?
I have to check the video.
I think it's 9. I'm pretty sure you keep thinking it's 8, but I'm pretty sure if you actually
let's just say you owe me a box.
That's like 12. Bigger question is 90% of the money belongs to 10% of the people, and now to add artistic expression to AI. I know it is so. Don't even get me started on the filtering of money down from the top of the business, like these art businesses that are not actually going to the artists and the people who are working really hard on their products. It is extremely upsetting, and I could talk about it for hours, and I don't have time for that tonight, and it will give me a headache, so we're not going to go there. But it bothers me so much. I have been called out. What am I going to do? Well, I'll probably buy him packs later. That is probably what will end up happening. What I would really love to actually find him is but they're also just super expensive, but maybe I'll do it anyways. The Fallout collector booster box.
Oh, no.
It's so...
It's like $500.
Okay, fine. Well, no. Okay.
Let me see what it is on TCG.
For me personally, I would rather see you open that than Modern Horizons 3.
It's $565 on TCG.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Fine.
You're paying like $50 a booster pack.
I know, it's stupid. But imagine pulling a foil, really cool card.
We'll talk about it.
Okay. Christmas is coming. Maybe I can do it as a joint I owe you plus Christmas bonus. Also, Havman confirms it's 9. And I trust that he paid attention. So if he says it's 9, I think I owe you 9. So we'll round it up to 12. What's my favorite commander? Okay, so I haven't played with that many commanders yet.
You played with 7.
Which I feel like is a very small number to the number that are out there.
I know, but...
But so far, I have...
Very classy, by the way, coughing on stream.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. I was trying to not to. But sometimes it happens. So, my favorite commander... Oh man, this is hard.
You doing alright?
I'm just debating. Because I really like my Tyranids. The Tyranid deck was a lot of fun. And actually, on the Bloomborough side, I really like the bunny. Mrs. Bumbleborough or something like that. I don't remember her full name. But she was really cool because I liked that I was creating a lot of small creatures. And I was giving people a lot of card draw. And I think... So my problem is I struggle to answer this question because I've never played a 4-player game of Commander. And I feel like a lot of the decks that I seem like I really enjoy would be a lot stronger in a 4-player game. But I've not actually experienced that. So I haven't found, like, I don't think I would say that I found a commander that I'm like, I love this one. I only ever play with this one, or this is like my go-to for who I play. Simply because I haven't actually played a 4-player game yet. And my 2-player games, while I've super enjoyed them, I don't feel like I've always gotten the deck to fire the way that it's designed to fire, if that makes sense. Excuse me. Just reading your guys' comments. I have seen that, Holaka, and I do appreciate it. I don't mind talking about it a little bit before we wrap up. There's really not much more to say, unfortunately, about that situation with Adam and X and all of that. But I have seen the absolute outpouring of comments, both on the subreddit, on the Discord, even on Twitter and various other places across the internet, of people being like, man, we really wish Angela could be back on No Worlds Barred content. And I am very open to that. Like, I will just say it right now, because I know a lot of people have asked, like, would you even be open to going on No Rules Barred content or Wrestle Talk content again? And absolutely. 100%. If anybody from those groups contacted me, was like, hey, Angela, we'd like to have you on X video or whatever. Not X referring to the person X, but X as in, like, insert video title
and
here.
And not the website X video.
God, and not also the website X video.
Which you might be on.
Also, I might be on that one, and also not the website X, formerly known as Twitter. We use X too much now.
X gonna give it to you.
X gonna give it to you. But yes, I would absolutely love to be back on content with them. I know that, like, one of the issues, and this is actually one of the things that I thought was possibly why I stopped being brought on in the first place before I even found out about what was going on with Adam, X, and all of that nonsense, is I just kind of assumed that because they started doing all the in real life stuff, they were like, well, she's in America, she's can't be here in real life with us, so we're just gonna not have her come on anymore. And I kind of, that sort of worked for me, although, like, if that had been the case, and it doesn't seem like it was necessarily, I don't know, question mark. This is all hypothetical for me. But if that had been the case, like, I feel like they would have told me, hey, we've really liked working with you, but because we're moving to this kind of content, we're not going to be bringing you on as much. And that never happened, so I don't feel like that's why it was, but that's always what I kind of just optimistically presumed was the reason that I stopped being brought on content. And I know that they still don't do a lot of, like, Zoom content anymore, but I know that they still do stuff on Patreon for that. And if they want to bring me onto that content, I'd be absolutely open to it. I know it's a limited audience who would see it, but I don't really care. I just want to play games with people who I thought were really cool, because that's the whole reason I was doing it in the first place. I was like, wow, these people are really rad. They're doing these online games with each other, and that happened to be based off of tabletop games, and they're making it work through Zoom, and that's really neat to me. So I would love to be a part of it. And lo and behold, I was lucky enough to actually get to do that for a little bit, and I'm very grateful for it. And if I get to the opportunity to do it again, that's awesome. If I don't, then that is what it is. And I mean, I've moved on. Like, I'm making content myself. It's not like I'm not having a good time and hanging out with you guys and honestly living a very great life. So all things considered, as stressful and annoying as it was to not be able to talk about it once I found out why everything had happened to me when it came to No Rules Barred and Wrestle Talk, and why I'd sort of stopped being invited on, I had already gotten over it at that point, thankfully. So it was a kind of a relief to, like, oh, that's the reason. Great. That's not what I would have expected, but okay, sure. That's the reason I stopped getting invited on. But at least I had already, like, started doing my own thing more, making my own content, etc., etc. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a follow-up on that. And I really, again, I do appreciate to anybody who has been the people saying, like, you'd love to see me back on there and that you've been really sorry for everything that happens. I really appreciate everything that you guys have been reaching out and saying to me, because it means a lot. Like, I will admit, it was mildly uncomfortable anytime anybody asked me, oh, why haven't you been on No Rules Barred content? Or why haven't you been on Wrestle Talk content? And I would be like, I'm not sure. I just assume X is I keep saying X because that's like my go-to consonant for like saying insert thing here. Insert object, insert name, insert whatever date, such, etc., etc., etc. But I thought that was the reason why, and to find out it wasn't. It's just been wild. It's just been really wild, and it's been kind of weird, but I am glad that I've been at least able to talk about it a little bit now and not have to, like, because I always had suspicions of, like, well, maybe something had happened, but I never knew for sure until Adam contacted me. But okay, let's not end fully on, like, some sort of self-pity there, because I am doing fine. I just want to put it out there. I am doing fine. I really appreciate everybody's concerns, and you guys reaching out has been super, super uplifting, and just it means so much to me. You have no idea. Like, it really does. I did too, man. I always kind of viewed Adam as an inspiration as well. Like, when I said in my video, in my response covering it, that, like, one of the things that really got me excited about No Rules Barred was Adam's enthusiasm for what he was doing. I really meant it. And I've actually, like, in the past, when Adam and I chatted more, I actually told him this. He reminded me, like, No Rules Barred, when that channel first launched, it totally reminded me of Will Wheaton running Tabletop on Geek and Sundry.
OG. Like 13 years ago, before Critical Role.
Yeah, before Critical Role, like, OG Geek and Sundry, when Will Wheaton had Tabletop, and he used to invite on people like Jesse Cox, and, like,
half the cast of Eureka was on there.
Yeah, like, half the cast of Eureka ended up being on there. Warehouse 13, etc. Like, basically, he had a huge plethora of not only YouTube celebrities who are nerdy and into board games and those kinds of stuff, but also, like, TV celebrities who were also nerdy and into board games.
It was like the OG tape board game Let's Play show. I mean, yeah. I'm sure there were smaller ones, but it was the first one that was doing, like,
it was the first
100,000 views.
Yeah, it was the first largest board game show, like, YouTube channel that I had seen, and I thought it was so cool. It's what actually got me into board gaming and, like, encouraged me to sort of dive into that for the first time. And so then when Adam launched No Rules Barred, I was like, this reminds me of OG Tabletop with Will Wheaton. Like, Adam, to me, had the same energy Wheaton did at that time, where he was super pumped and, like, so ready to be making that kind of content. And I just thought it was so cool, which is why when I got the opportunity to actually be involved with their work, I was thrilled, because I was just like, this is so cool. Like, obviously, I would never have been able to, like, even if I was doing YouTube content back when Tabletop was a thing, there was no way I would have ever been big enough or to be invited onto that. So, like, to me, to be invited on what I felt was the equivalent was me, like, reaching a certain level of, like, I made it kind of feeling. It was so cool. So, like, and which is why it hurt so much when I stopped being invited on, and I didn't know why specifically, because I had no communication until Adam contacted me, as he said in his video. So, like, I was in limbo for, like, the longest time, unable to really talk about it, because I had no idea what X, the person who I was referring to in the video, had possibly said. Like, I had backed completely out of, like, honestly, Tabletop in general, like, board game wise, because I just didn't know, because of our incident at KublaCon, what kind of rumors or anything might have been said. And I don't even know if she did, because I have no idea. I have had zero contact with her. But like, because of that, I was just like, I'm just gonna sort of stay away from this for a little bit. Focus on miniatures, sort of moved into Lego for a little while, and then scale models and all kinds of things. So like, sort of took board games out of the picture because I was honestly afraid of backlash from out of nowhere for something that I didn't understand as to what I did. Do I still like Adam as a friend and as a person? Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely have no problems with Adam. I don't think he's a predator. I mean, I said it in my video and I stand by it. Like, has he made mistakes? Abso-fucking-lutely. Has he been punished for those mistakes? I kind of feel like he has. But that's just my personal opinion. But do I think he's a predator? No. Do I think he's a serial cheater, potentially? Maybe. But I feel like that is something that can be worked on. People can be moved past that. And I don't think that means you are a predator. That is a severely harsh word to be using. And I just, especially with vague accusations and no actual evidence or like even speaking up about it, like, or coming out and being like, this is what happened.
Careful.
But I understand. But anyways, regardless, like the point is like, no, I don't think he's a predator. And yes, I am still friends with him. We don't talk very often, but I do chat with him every now and then. And I don't think that he should be having all of the things that make him extremely happy in life, like board games and wrestling, taken away from him when nothing's actually been said. That's just my feelings on it, though, you know? That's just, like, it just seems like a shitty situation, and are there some shitty people out there who maybe deserve something like this? Yes. Is Adam one of them? No. I just don't think so. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I think now that we've talked about that a little bit, we've talked about some awesome Magic the Gathering cards. Like, I think the aesthetic of these are cool. I'm curious to see how they play. Like, when I do my draft, when I go to my pre-release, that's really where I feel like I'm going to decide, do I like the Duskmourn set or not? Because it'll be dependent on how do I feel like I'm able to construct a deck like well enough to actually maybe win a couple games. I didn't do a very good job with my Bloomberg deck. I did not win any of my games.
I won a game with it.
You won didn't you won like 2 or 3 games?
No, I played with your deck.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So Chaos Cultist played with the deck that I constructed during the draft and kicked my ass with when I was using the deck he constructed during his draft, which he actually won with and took like 2nd place or something.
No.
Or you got 2 packs. Is all I know.
I got
you
one.
No, you got 2.
Did I get 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
He definitely placed to some degree because of the number of wins he had versus losses he had. Very true. Very true. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for us tonight. We went a little bit longer than I anticipated because we ended up talking about some personal stuff, or I guess some like internet drama. But I appreciate you guys being here. I really appreciate everybody's support through everything too. It really does mean a lot to me. And I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's content. Do make sure to give the stream a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you want to see other types of hobby news, tabletop news covered on Mondays. I do plan on trying to continue this and keep having it happen every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or your local equivalent. And I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful hobby night, everybody. I've been Angela. Bye, guys. Meow!